welcome y'all to Backwoods Obscura, a podcast dedicated to the lore, legends, and myths surrounding the creatures that may lurk in your backyard. My name's Hewitt.
I'm Chris. How you doing, man?
Oh, excuse me. Just had to put the kid in the bath and make sure he was not playing around.
Yeah.
He good.
The joys of parenthood.
Yeah, he about to be 10, but still have to make sure he's not.
And you're about to be 40.
Yeah, I ain't gonna high five you over that. Why you gotta bring that back up?
I'm gonna be 37, so.
Yeah, I know, but it actually doesn't bother me that much. I'm noticing how much white is growing into my goatee right here.
Yeah, Ruby was like, "Why do you have so much red in your beard?" And she looked it up. It's like, oh, it's going gray because it goes red before it goes gray. And I'm like, that's cool. Thanks. I can finally start growing a full beard. And
look, I have no clue how dark any of this on my chin would have been. It started when I started actually having enough to grow in. It just grew in white.
Yeah.
So, like, it looks like I literally dipped my chin in white paint.
It's funny because when I was younger, the only thing I could really do is like the chin and like the mustache, and it took until like 28 before it actually like closed up there. And in my 30s, it finally started to fill out on the side. But now that it's filling out, I'm getting the grays in the beard. It's always with guys, like the grays in the beard start first and then the hair goes.
Yeah, I don't know. They started both going gray on me at the same time.
But yeah, what do you know, since we're talking about, aging?
Yeah.
What do you know about black-eyed kids?
A good bit, because I've read a couple creepypastas, watched a lot of cryptid videos on them. They're terrifying on a whole new level because it combines two of my fears.
Kids and black eyes?
No, just like random kids showing up. Like any ghostly or supernatural kid entity already sets off like my radar because like you're not a kid.
Well,
I don't trust that. But also it's the other, like they very much fall into a category of the other. And I mean, you also know about black-eyed children not only from your research, because remember the game we played back at Christmas with Team Bonus Action.
Yeah, we did.
I had black-eyed children as the minions.
But, okay, so since you know so much, let me just scare you a bit with the story, get you back in the vibe.
I'm going to be spooked by this anyway, because everything about black-eyed children is just... Spooky, because you're taking something that people usually look at as needing help, and then it's like, oh, wait, you're the predator. Ooh.
Yeah. So after finishing some errands, you get in your car and you collect yourself before driving off. However, you're interrupted by a knock on your driver's side door.
Nope.
You see two boys, no older than 12 or 13, completely identical and wearing hoodies, staring up at you. A sudden rush of fear runs up your spine as you realize both of them have eyes that are jet black. "Can you give us a ride to our mother's house?" they ask. "It won't take that long. We just need some money." Trying to find a quick way out of the situation, you decline and say you're in a hurry, slowly rolling up the window. But the kids are insistent. They start knocking more on the door, asking to come in. And as they start to raise their voice and they even start yelling, you drive off as they chase your car. In the days ahead, you start having trouble sleeping, with fears of them showing up at your house, at the foot of your bed. The thought of them going around your house, creeping around like ghosts, haunts your every day. This was actually one of the first reported encounters of black-eyed children, as reported by Brian Bethel.
Wasn't this outside of a movie theater?
Yes.
It's like, yeah, we just need to get money to go see Jurassic Park.
They actually wanted to see Mortal Kombat.
Okay, so we are talking about an old movie here.
Yeah.
Like, here's the deal. Like, this is...
These kids would have been a little bit older than me at that point.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, like, I know that story because it's like the one that pops up all the time.
Yeah.
But
it's the biggest story.
It's just, everything about it is creepy. Everything about it is just... It's just enough because, I've been listening to guys on YouTube reading, like, creepy stories or ghost stories. And a lot of them are good up to a point, and then they just go less is more in a good, scary story.
Yeah. Well, the thing is with this one, like, I think it has an air of legitimacy because not only was it first, like, one of the first modern reports, it's also considered, like, one of the first modern instances of a creepypasta, but he wasn't trying to, like, share it around. I mean, it was apparently an account, like an email chain he was having, talking with some people. He's like, hey, this weird shit happened to me. And then someone shared that, and then he eventually elaborated on it and talked more about it in the future. But yeah, I think that's why it has a little bit more legitimacy. Like, of all the stories, like, I went on Reddit and read a whole bunch of black-eyed children stories, and I'm not the same as you with it. It doesn't really freak me out as much because a lot of them are kind of like samey. They kind of start blending together where you're like...
Well, I don't mean that the stories are necessarily scary. The concept of the black-eyed children hits a very unsettling fear with me.
I'll be honest. Like, some of them came off as kind of Karen-y. Like, oh, these kids are knocking on my door. Oh, they're scary. It's like, lady... They're knocking on your door because it's Halloween. They're trick-or-treating.
Yeah, it's one of those, but... Like, here's the thing. I'm a parent.
Yeah.
And you've seen this with Jed, who plays games with us. By the way, if anybody's listening and you need insurance, look up Goosehead Jed. If any child cries anywhere near us, we're both in motion immediately, which would mean an entity like this would have easy prey in parents.
Yeah. So, what is a BEK, or a black-eyed kid? They're usually... either one or a few entities in the form of children, usually under the age of 16 or 17. And as the name implies, their eyes are completely black. Now, some have simple clothes. Most of the time they're reported actually with simple clothes with like hoodies and pants, but sometimes they're reported having either antiquated attire, like Victorian garb, or they might be actually nicely dressed. Sometimes they're reported to be uncanny valley-like, are robotic, and sometimes they're just
very systematic in their response to you.
Yeah, and sometimes they're kind of reported just being normal with black eyes. And it's those reports where I'm like, it's less scary because it could just be like, it just could just be like some kids, and you're just like, you just
imagine it. But also, there's a thing called an ident.
Yeah. Which is a real thing.
Which is damage to the white of the eye.
Yeah.
The sclera.
Sclera,
yeah. And it causes it to turn completely...
Yeah, it's basically blood pooling in those. Or the vessels break, so blood just leaks into there.
And the eye becomes...
Black. And for those of you who don't know, 2D from Gorillas, that's what happened to his eyes, why they're black.
It's also why, what's his name, the green one? Murdoch.
Yeah.
Why Murdoch's an asshole.
Yeah, because he did it.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the reasons why.
Oh, I love the Gorillas. Okay. Encounters with BEKs are usually situations of getting them to interact with you.
Yeah, they want something from you. They come up to you. And again, this is the reason, because I'm going to keep harping on this as we go through this. What makes this thing scary, or makes these things scary, is it is the most innocuous, least dangerous thing to adults.
Well, the thing is, it plays on the fear of, like, it's something that preys on your instincts as an adult to take care of someone or to help someone. And you see this in real life all the time. There's like people who do carjackings or robberies or something, they'll often feign an injury or they'll feign needing help of some sort. I mean, what's his name? Not Dahmer. Ted Bundy did this.
Yeah. Or, to flash back to a very old game, there's a broken wagon on the side of the road that a certain bard ran into immediately.
Look, I play fast and loose,
Yeah, that's true. I just love that my character the whole time was like, no.
Don't do that.
Don't. Magic missile.
Then my character, it's time to help.
Yeah. But I mean, it's the thing is that it's like the creepypasta. It's like the adult talking to the child, and what's your name? Decoy?
Yeah.
Or bait, that type of thing.
Yeah, and you're like, oh no. Oh fuck. Oh jeez. But yeah, aside from like some of the other ones, like honestly, like some of the biggest, the creepiest stories for me were always the most popular ones. So I actually want to go over a very popular one that also has the black-eyed children coming into the house. Usually with these,
never let anything into.
Yeah.
This is how you get Lutons. Do not let them in your house.
Here's the thing: like a lot of this, most of the stories are like, again, you're talking about kids hitchhiking, panhandling, they're trying to interact with you in some way, right? So, like, most of the stories end up with people trying to remove themselves from the situation without interacting with the kids anymore. So if they're knocking on the door, they just start ignoring the door. Or, like with the car, they drive away. But there's one story from an elderly couple in Vermont which let the kids in after they asked to come in.
I think I know about the one you're talking about.
Yeah. So the kids came knocking on the door, and a little old lady comes in and sees them. They didn't see the eyes until later, but after a little bit of hesitation, they let them in. The kids came and sat on the couch for a minute. She went in to go, I think she was making hot chocolate or something, and the husband was asking them questions like, what's wrong? What's like, where are your parents? Things like that.
It was like it was snowing outside too, wasn't it? Like,
yeah, something like that. They weren't answering, but as soon as she started bringing like the hot chocolate up, they asked to go to the bathroom. When they did that, she finally saw the eyes, which were black, and that scared her. But holding her composure, she directed them to the bathroom, and when she came back, the husband was feeling dizzy, feeling off, and started having a nosebleed. And which is, I mean, he reported that he's never had any of these symptoms before. As that was happening, and as she was trying to deal with her husband, the lights went out. When she went to go back and check on the black-eyed kids, they were in the hallway, and the only thing they said was, "Our parents are here." And they go out, they run, they leave the door open and run to their parents. The husband gets up, and when he goes out, he sees a car in the driveway with two men on either side. And he, despite waving at them, common courtesy. Like, even if you're in an uneasy situation, I think we kind of default to that.
Like, hey, at least wave back.
Yeah. They didn't wave at all. They just got in their car and left. Now, this is where I get into a little bit of, like, what are the black-eyed children? Now, there's not a lot of
Well, can I add some other details to that story? Because I've heard two other versions of this.
Yeah, well, I was going to get into that, but
okay.
I just wanted to cut in right here because it kind of gets into like the MIB territory for me.
Yeah, like the Men in Black.
We talked a little bit with the Hat Man and everything, where it's this creature that deals in like interdimensional happenings. Like when I read this story, that's the most interesting part, is like having it connected to like MIB sort of things.
Like
but
the men in gray, the government agencies that do things that even the CIA don't know about.
Yeah. And after all of this had happened, the family had bad things happen afterwards. They had most of their cats go missing. One of them was found dead in a pool of blood. He was actually diagnosed with an aggressive form of skin cancer. Apparently he got better, but suddenly out of nowhere, getting like the sequence of events really would fuck with me as well, even if it's like totally coincidental. The wife also had psychological issues crop up, such as depression, anxiety, insomnia, things like that, which is also like another thing you feel when it comes to the black-eyed children, even if you don't let them in. But she apparently had it like for months afterwards. But yeah, you said that there were other versions, and I'm sure there are.
I've heard other versions that the family was younger, not older. I was going to mention the detail that he got skin cancer, and supposedly she got cancer in one version as well. But a big detail was the kids were dressed like they were Amish.
I didn't see that in the one. I might have missed it.
But I mean, like it was an older girl and a little boy. Like she was probably 10 and he was probably like 7 or 8.
Yeah.
And he was in like overalls and she was in like kind of a very plain slip type dress, and they didn't have shoes on, which is why they got invited in so quickly, because it was snowing. And the other reason is they knew there was a Mennonite colony not too far from there. So there's some other details here. I've also heard a version of the story that happened like inside a city, like that. It didn't. I don't remember what city it was, but it was like one of the bigger ones.
Like this is also like the Bethel story. It is a creepypasta like story where it gets passed around and changed. Like I even changed I admittedly changed the story up just for.
Yeah, I mean, well, here's the deal. It's like
but
every time you hear this, it's like hearing telephone.
Yeah.
Something changes just a little bit.
Yeah, the most popular ones are the most interesting, but they're also the ones probably most likely to get changed from mouth to mouth. But what are the black-eyed children? I mean, if we were going to go into skepticism territory, they're, an urban legend.
Yeah.
They're just a thing that's scary that's passed from person to person. But let's entertain the idea that they are like real.
Yeah.
So we've already talked about the MIB as they're interdimensional, extraterrestrial creatures that are connected to some weird SCP style people.
Right.
There's also the idea that they might be fake creatures.
Now I've heard that, and that's a little bit of what I ran with in that Christmas game, because I mentioned it once, like in the videos, they avoided where there was iron.
Yeah, and the thing is, they also follow rules. They don't just go into your house.
No, you have to invite them. I mean, it's not just the Fae. You have to. So many things in folklore,
such as vampires,
have to be invited in willingly because of. I might have missed this in a previous podcast, but the threshold law. Which is anything. I mean, they technically could enter into your house, but they leave the majority of their powers outside if they don't come in invited.
It's not so much that they can't come in; they just don't.
They would become weaker and could not do what they intend to do.
Yeah, it's not like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, where there's literally like a force field
that prevents them in from if they're not invited. But I mean, also that creatures that have that on them, and the black-eyed children grab onto this, is a story as old as time, because it's also hospitality laws, which, I mean, I try to hold to that when I invite people in, but like the whole concept is they have to be invited in to be offered hospitality before they can do anything is a very old, even not supernatural law or rule.
But yeah, another one is, of course, I mean, there's not much here, but obviously, a lot of people think they're like demons or ghosts or any sort of like elemental spirit. That obviously...
The reason I wouldn't say they're a ghost is that they wander. They're never... Like, the thing about a ghost is very much tied to a location.
I mean, like, if we're going to entertain the idea of it being a ghost, usually ghosts have a tie to the area
that they died in.
Yeah. And it could either, or where their body is at, like, because that's what I think.
Like the hitchhiking ghosts and stuff.
Yeah. It's why some people think cemeteries are haunted. It's because
that's where the corpse resides.
Yeah.
I mean, but also the reason I don't think it's a demon is, again, demons have... I mean, okay. It could be a demon in the fact that demons, by nature or by story, usually have to attach to someone. Like, they can't attach to a place, but they have to attach to someone. So I could kind of get that. Like, they might be Babadooking it.
Yeah. If we're going to entertain the idea, I do like the initial idea. If only because I like MIBs, like, as a concept, and I like the SCP Foundation. And
as a concept, yeah.
Yeah, and extraterrestrial, interdimensional beings seem cool. Like, it almost has, like, a Pennywise
Well, the thing
sort of
is,
deal with
I've heard them. A lot of people believe they're aliens
Yeah.
because there's also a radiation associated with them. Like the husband
Yeah.
getting skin cancers because he was in a lot more direct contact with them than not. So that radiation from them being from outer space, and maybe that's an alien. Because also, I mean, dark eyes, small in stature. I mean, if you're a government trying to hide grays, which are the most common alien and visions, you make them look like a kid.
Yeah. The thing is, too, it's like, because what it also made me think of is like Pennywise from the book It, where Pennywise is a extraterrestrial, extra-dimensional being that feeds on fear and causes hallucinations and all these certain effects to basically feed on people. And it's like, okay, it could, that's an interesting.
I could vibe with that being a thing, because I mean, they also think people try to say Bigfoot's extra dimensional, and that also the extra dimensionalists could explain potential radiation. But like again, like here's the deal: like, why would it's a terrible thought I had? Why would they might be also hide grays or aliens as children? Is because you'd feel like an asshole talking about how big some kid's head is. Like, you don't know if they're maybe hydrocephalic. I mean, it's.
Some kids have conditions. You don't talk about that.
Like if it was a grown ass man with a big head, we're all terrible enough. Like, damn, look how big that dude's head is.
It's like, shit, dude. You need to go to the doctor to get that popped, man.
Like, your head is bigger than Mothman's ass at the moment, dude.
You can balance a fucking quarter on that head.
Here, I got a whole stack of them. Now we've just moved into terribleness with that.
Yeah. Okay.
For anybody out there that has a large noggin, we're not making fun of you. God knows, Chris and I cannot talk bad about big heads with the size of ours. But
anyway,
I mean, you could hide it as a kid because, again, people wouldn't.
Yeah, would be less likely to question it. But yeah, credits. Obviously, my usual start is Wikipedia. Brian Bethel's original account, which was at the tail of the beginning. The Sandy River Review, Creeping It Real.
I love that channel name.
YouTubers Thorn Crown Studios and PBS's Monstrum and Storied, which is where I got all the information for this. And of course Reddit, where I read a whole bunch of like black-eyed children's stories, but didn't really find too much to put in here. But yeah, that's the story of the black-eyed children. You already knew about it, but I'm glad that we got to discuss it.
Well, I mean, they are one of the more recent urban legends and cryptids, especially urban cryptids. Which, let's be honest, if we start talking about cryptids, 90% of the time, they out in the woods.
You could actually call it a suburban cryptid. Because you see it a lot in
the suburbs.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is a creature type that could be found in cities. So, I mean, it's interesting and it's different. And I'm going to say this: I don't really believe in them.
But it's also like you don't want to believe.
I'm not going to go out and try to see if they're real or not. And if a kid's knocking on my window and I look and they have solid black eyes, I'm hitting the gas.
You're going to be like Brian Bethel, just bam. But yeah, we are Backwoods Obscura. We stream every Tuesday. You can find us on most podcatchers. We are trying to get on Apple Podcasts. Hopefully by the time this releases, we are on Apple Podcasts. You can also find us on social media. As soon as I start posting, we're on Facebook, Threads, Blue Sky, and X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. I will hopefully find out an idea on how I'm going to post in the future. But we are also Team Bonus Action.
Yep, and that is a charity tabletop gaming group. At the time of this recording, we are partnered with St. Jude's Children's Hospital. Let's defeat childhood cancer. If you're listening to this other times of the year, we might be partnered with the Trevor Project, because trans youth sometimes need more help than others. Well, most of the time, especially the section of the world we live in.
Fucking hell.
Yeah. We're also usually partnered with the Children's Miracle Network of Hospitals, specifically Batson's, through Extra Life at the end of the year when we do 24 hours of gaming. 24
whole hours of D&D/tabletop fun.
We will never do 24 hours straight again like the first year.
Yeah, no, we're too old for that. We already discussed that.
I'd be tempted to do it again, though.
I'm a little bit tempted.
I'd be tempted. Yeah. But if you donate, we'd greatly appreciate it. You can find us at teambonusaction.com or on Facebook, Instagram, Blue Skies, Threads, and I already said Instagram, YouTube as Team Bonus Action. You can find us on Twitter at bonus_team.
And with that, I hope you have a good day, night, or whatever time it is.
Hey, hope you enjoyed your fishing. Maybe listening in the boat to us. Get a biggin.
Get a big fish.
Wow.